Welcome everyone to the Island Life podcast, where we journey onto the island of discovery to relive some of the best and worst moments of Survivor. My name is Will, an experienced Survivor fan, 47 seasons deep, and I will be your guide. And joining us on this adventure is our rising Survivor fan with 10 seasons under her belt, and
Hello, everybody.
And at last, we can welcome back our star of our show, our Survivor newbie, the brand new Survivor fan who just finished his second season of the show. I give you Survivor F.
Hey everyone, good to be back.
Much has transpired since last we had you on the show, F. Have you gotten to see at least some of what is happened?
I have, yeah, got a chance to listen to some of the episodes you guys got together for. Got a chance to watch some of the scenes, so it's good to be back on the island, that's for sure.
Welcome back. Did you get to see any scenes about stars rapping? I just, if you have to watch anything in the past couple of weeks, you need to watch this. I will send you a
Well,
clip if you haven't.
I haven't, but I agree. Now I have to see this.
Yes. Were there any
Josie.
shocking things, or are you like, I knew this was going to happen, like where we're at right now?
I think just kind of going through, I mean, just to really cut it short, just going through in terms of who got eliminated since we last spoke. Yeah, I'm a little surprised by the order of things. For me, when I was last part of these discussions, David was coming across as very strong. And lo and behold, he got eliminated. So he was in a pretty high spot. Star 2 looked like, she was not necessarily a front runner, but she at least was playing a good game, had a good story, and was just kind of commingling with it enough with everyone and kind of behind the scenes enough in a way that she wouldn't have been an immediate out in my mind. And then obviously the events of the most recent episode, which I'm sure we'll get into, it turned out to go in a way that I wasn't expecting.
We must go through some Survivor housekeeping first. So, F, we had picked winner picks quite a while ago with the rule that, of course, you could change your pick, but if you do that, then you can never go back to them. Very soon after that, unfortunately, your winner pick, David, met his demise. Now we're gonna right here in real time reconstruct the past. So when David got eliminated, that left 8 people in the game, including Joe, Shauhin, Kyle, Kamilla, Mitch, Mary, and Star. Who do you believe you would have switched to upon David's demise?
My secondary pick would have been Camilla. So I would have said her.
Okay. So in that case, if you had switched to Camilla, you would do you think any of the events that transpired would have made you scared to continue to pick Camilla? Up to the exclude this past episode. So everything except this episode.
No, I tend to have faith in my guys. I wouldn't. I'd be the type of person who would even just stick with the David decision, despite the fact that he got eliminated. So I would think that if there's an opportunity to switch out, I would feel comfortable with my pick. I'm a one and done kind of guy. I trust my picks. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, then just got to live with the results. Try next time.
I consider that the easy way out. So no, you are forced to change, and your change has been noted as switching to Camilla.
I love it.
Until at least the end of this episode, where we'll all have a chance to make the prediction.
Okay. Well, just know
Now,
you're unwittingly helping me. Then, if I happen to win, then I will gloat as I should.
well, we'll see. Well, we'll discuss it. We'll discuss it. Now, Survivor housekeeping for myself. Unfortunately, my winner pick of Shauhin was voted out tonight, so I will have to make a new selection. We're gonna also save that for the end so we can have a big conversation of all 5 of these people. So we have one more piece of Survivor housekeeping before we get into the events of this episode. Now, you may recall, both of you, that Survivor 50 that's coming up has been having these votes in the hands of the fans, as Jeff would say. So, allegedly, granted, Jeff could change his mind at any moment. This is the very last vote, and we're going to do it right now.
Oh, I didn't know it came out. Exciting.
Indeed. So, this vote is about idols. So I'm going to read to you what the website says. It says, idols are a big part of today's game and responsible for some of the most dramatic moves in Survivor history. But for Survivor 50, you get to decide. Idols or no idols? And they have a little blurb to persuade you to pick yes or no here. So the argument for no is, I don't like idols. I want to take Survivor back to its roots. A very simple game where a reliable alliance was the single most important thing and could take you all the way to the end. So absorb that, think about that. And now the argument for yes says, are you serious? I love idols. They reward players who hustle, and they create uncertainty that can change the game at any moment.
Is this not the official website? That's so funny.
Yes, it is.
I love it.
So what do you guys think? Yay
I'm all
or
for
nay?
idols, man. Yay, idols. Full chaos, all the idols, please.
So I do lean one way more than the other, but it's tough for me just because I haven't watched that many seasons. I would be interested to see what things are like without idols, but I do like the chaos that idols do bring with them. So I would say the safer thing for me is just include the idols. The position for not taking the idols is that, yeah, you just kind of don't have that safety net that you would allow people, and I imagine that would prompt people to focus much more on strategy than they otherwise would if they're spending time then trying to find an idol. So would that be interesting to see? Yes. Would I want to do that for maybe like an anniversary special sort of season? Potentially not. I think for season 50, I would much rather see them have idols.
Jeff Ropes knows what he's doing here because I suspect most people want specifically like one idol. Because lately there have been many idols, often multiple idols in play at the same time, and it has caused chaos. It's also allowed someone's primary strategy to be find idol, play idol, find idol, play idol. But consider that what you've seen in this season, there are two thoughts to it. On the one hand, this whole post-merge really has not been about idols. So you might think that's a reason you're not having a good time if that's how you feel, if you feel like you're not having a good time. On the other hand, someone could argue the fact that Eva has had an idol all this time has made people even less likely to target her or Joe, and that's the reason that you might not be having a good time. So you could argue both ways in that respect.
Yeah, I think I would argue the fact that the idol hasn't been played, it's been kind of boring. Like I get excitement of people getting afraid or thinking about how to blindside because they have an idol or trying to pick out who has an idol, who doesn't. So that's my personal preference is I do enjoy the play of an idol. I think
Yeah,
it
I
just
guess that
adds
leads
on
to
to it.
that leads to an interesting question, doesn't it? Just bouncing it right back to you, Will. So I would assume that we all, at least Ange and I had mentioned, were for idols. I don't know what your take on that is, but would you be receptive to having, if we all are selecting idols, for instance, would you be receptive to having just one idol, or would you want multiple idols for that season?
I think you'd have one. Think you so you haven't seen it yet, but usually like you have an idol and when it's used, it gets rehidden. So that means an idol could be even if you only have one idol, it could be used more than once in the season.
And
Um,
does that mean, like, if you're starting out, for instance, the tribes are split up into like different groups, does that mean it's active only like post merge, or is it active at the start? Because then I'm wondering, like, does one tribe luck out that they have access to an idol that the others don't?
you bring up a fair point. In that scenario, there's probably an idol hidden on each beach. Other versions have been like it there was nothing hidden until like everyone lived on one beach, or it's that there's clues to the idol and you earn the clues by winning your tribal challenges. So if your tribe never wins enough challenges for anyone to figure it out, then that's unfortunate for you. Uh, there's been other versions where it's the idol is on a special third beach that neither tribe is on. And
Ooh,
so
okay.
if you go to that beach, you have the opportunity to find it or not. So there's a little different ways. I probably in my head I'm thinking now that you make me talk through it, it's probably two. You probably want one hidden on each. Right now there's uh technically there's three. So it's really because there's three tribes. Uh that we have this many idols. But then there's also like we've seen like Eva had an opportunity to uh potentially like actually not just her, most of you had chances to win powerful advantages or idols in like these journeys too. So it's like but even more.
Right.
So it's probably like one per beach if it's two tribes. If it's three tribes, then maybe that thing I said where it's actually on a separate location where if you go to this place, you have the opportunity to get the idol. That being said, okay, back to the actual question though, which is yes versus no. I am tempted to say no, but the problem is that in the world of extremes, you definitely have to you have to edge on the yes here. It's too dangerous to go all the way to zero. It's probably gonna do more harm than good. Plus, this is a returnee season. There is every likelihood that these players have gotten to know each other over the years, which means that when they go into the season, there could be unspoken alliances already. And if that happens and there's also no idols, then there's very little that can stop those pre-game alliances, which you don't want. You want the alliances to come naturally in the season, not like we prepped beforehand and then did it. So my answer to this
Right.
is definitely yes, idols. Um,
Yeah.
but
So
I but I was just saying Jeff definitely knows what he's doing here because if he had like in between options, people would definitely pick the in between options.
great. Good to see that we're all in agreement there. So you presented an idea that I haven't seen obviously yet, but I think I actually really like that approach to the idols. Having, like a third island or just whatever other island that the groups do not start out in, like a shared island for them where they have access to the idol in that area. And then whoever wins it there, yeah, I think having just one idol is ideal. Whoever wins it there, if they happen to use it, then it resurfaces again in a shared setting, or assuming by that point they get to post merge, it'll be wherever they all have access to it essentially.
Yeah, and I'm intentionally being vague about this because I'm excited for you to see those seasons that I'm referencing. But yeah, okay. So we have now, well, at least I participated. You guys got to log in and do it yourself, but I have cast my vote at least. So hopefully you get on that.
What was it? Just that one question?
This was just this one question. That's it.
Oh, Wow, usually they have, like, a collection of, like, 3 questions in the last couple of times we had it.
Yeah,
Just
Jeff
1.
was tired
Big
tired of
deal.
us making
Yeah.
decisions, so he's
Jeff was like, how about no?"
It's like
I
it's
like
like
how
the
you
way
can't
he's
tell the results, though. He could really change it up however he wants. It's like
I
everybody doesn't want idols, he's just like, whatever. I'm gonna do what I want."
I just like love the thought of him asking the question and then presenting an answer in the way that you know he's guiding you obviously towards one answer. Like, do you want okay, do you want idols, yes or no? And then no, it's like, no, but like, like the think about it for a second. These are like not those popular seasons that everyone actually likes. Those are the ones that don't have idols. Or yes, hey, these are the shows that like everyone talks about. You're gonna be the cool kid if you select yes. Dot dot dot. Please select yes.
Do it or else.
Yes, exactly. But all right, good. We have now shaped our destiny. If we hate the season 50, then I guess it's our fault. Oh well. So let's get into the latest episode of the current Survivor 48. So this was with 6 people left in the game, and the main event of this episode was the Kyle and Kamilla alliance at last taking an offensive strategy in the game. We haven't really seen them two need to do much. They played defense that one episode, in the episode where David would go home, in fact. But they have not needed to. In fact, we've been frustrated that they haven't been playing offense. But at last, in this episode, they do. What did you guys think of Kyle and Camilla deciding now is the time and how they executed it?
I would like to say from my POV, it feels more like Kyle decided. Like it feels like Kyle's like, you know what, this is the time. This is just us now. We got to do it now. I I I think it's very cool that they thought of it. I think it kind of brings back to the time where they're pretending they're not close, and took down Tomas. Remember when we took him down? Um,
Yeah, it was Thomas.
as someone that really likes Shauhin, I'm so sad that they did it, but also it was smart because they know that Joe is paranoid. Joe is from last episode, he is so easily paranoid. When Mary was taken out, like he was like when Mary was like, "I'm gonna vote for you tonight," he freaked out. And I think Kyle and Camilla knows that and used it to his advantage. And honestly, it was very well done. Annoying as someone that wanted Shauhin to do really well, but as like but also respectable being like, "Oh my gosh, it's working." In terms of Kyle, I feel like the entire time it just feels like Kyle has been kind of playing along with it and like telling Camilla what to do versus Camilla is just kind of like, "All right, what you say, Kyle, that's a great plan. I'm down. Let's do it." So I truly think like as I've been saying, what if they're just those 3, like they make it to top 3, Camilla's got nothing really that isn't gonna be overshadowed by Kyle. So it just really goes back to that where I feel like Camilla has yet to make her point and her play. She's been playing stuff with Kyle and what Kyle is saying, which, puts you kinda like you're thinking in the final 3, you're thinking who's gonna respect and pay like, and vote for her, or maybe the jury just hates everyone else and just say like, "You know what? Camilla, just do it. I don't care if she did things or didn't do things." And I'm also like a part of me feel that way because I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a very like upset jury. Like these juries are angry, upset, very sad face. The eyebrows are down.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think having Camilla and Kyle, they've essentially been like the lone bright spot in terms of like a duo for this season. There's a lot that I feel like this season could have been set up in a better way. The decision making through a lot of the episodes has been called into question, but I think Kyle and Camilla have done a good job despite the odds. They've been a two-man group since pretty much the beginning and persevered and are still in the game. So that speaks to itself. Seeing them play in an offensive or taking an offensive approach right now, eventually they were bound to do it. And I think what you present, Ange, is it calls into question whether, if Camilla's self-aware enough to realize for the next episode as they're heading towards the finale, when she's eventually going to have to betray Kyle. I feel like she's smart enough to realize that, okay, how much do we need each other? But then how much am I hurting my game if we're continuing to be hand in hand? So who knows? Maybe we could be turning into an episode where Camilla finally might be deciding to turn it on Kyle because Kyle would have
Sure.
less of an incentive to do so. And I think that, yeah, in terms of just being able to continue to make moves, they needed to do something, right? The rest of the tribe got fractured. They've shown a strong mental game, and it's good to see so far. It's looking strong for Kyle right now in particular. Yeah, I agree with that. So uh, I'm just I'm just kind of looking to see what the next moves are going to be. And this is looking like it could be an easy Kyle victory unless he slips up in some way, shape, or form.
That's interesting because I would expect most people to be favoring Joe. Like, if there was a final tribal right now with all 5 of them, I would expect, like, people to think that Joe's done the best. It would depend if Kai, in this weird world where it's 5 people all at the end, Kyle would basically have to claim that he was making decisions because it's gonna look like he was just cruising with Joe's majority alliance, and I am saying that intentionally. Like Joe is gonna get credit for like the as that alliance being his. So I think as it stands right now, like Joe, I would vote for Joe out of these 5 people. Now there
I
is a
would,
whole finale to happen, obviously. So this is a weird
right.
thought experiment,
I,
but that's
I
my
would
feeling.
love for you to be correct on that. I just think that with Kyle, the moves that they've taken kind of behind the scenes with Camilla speak for themselves. Like they've been very smart with how they've maneuvered the game. They've played the game the right way. Not to say that Joe hasn't, but I think I'm also banking on the fact that the jury is going to be more receptive towards Kyle compared to Joe. They'll probably be a little bit more harsher towards Joe, is my thought.
I agree on that. I feel like we have a set of jury that is very bitter towards like the quote unquote like the strong, the muscle guys. And I think that Joe wouldn't be liked. I think as an audience, you want to vote for Joe. We know his story, we really like him. But as the jury, I don't think anybody would want to vote for him. They're gonna be like, wow, so Kyle pulled all this stunt. Like Kyle's been doing a lot of things in the background and I'm not sure if it's the edits or what, but I feel like it shows a lot. He's been doing a lot more moves versus Joe has been being more like the person that dictates what the votes are when they were in a majority vote. Like during when they were the majority and they were the strong, sure, but that has been gone. The moment David's been like gone, I felt like that has slowly crumbled. And also, the biggest thing he played is about honesty and integrity. He took down 2 of the people in his team. Like is there honestly I feel like there's so many little bits and pieces that, like, kinda go against Joe, as a jury, versus for Kyle, I feel like he's doing really well and would, for a group of bitter juries would probably rather give it to Kyle than Joe. So, but as, like, me,
It,
I would love Joe to win.
it's
Right,
definitely
right. And
possible. I just worry that Kyle Kyle could say, "I fooled you all because I had this secret alliance with Camilla, and none of you realized that we had a strategic relationship." And I'm worried that the jury's response to that is, "Okay, so what? Like, why did that matter?" And the problem is, so far, the 2 things they've done is he was skillfully able to prevent her from being voted out, which I don't think, which is like, okay, you saved an ally, but how did that progress your game? Then he has what happened in this episode, which is he was able to vote out Shauhin. So the question is, will that look impressive? Especially if, like, usually you want your big move to be against the biggest threat. So unless they think, unless like I still think like Joe would be viewed as the biggest threat. So he would have to spin this as, and because I did that to get out Shauhin, I was able to get out Joe. And obviously that's in the future, so we don't know if that's going to be true. Uh, but
I I,
but I
I
yeah,
think
go
if
ahead.
sorry, I think if Mitch's reservations hold true, that is what we're heading towards. We're heading towards a scenario where with Mitch is also a little bit suspect of Joe. He's not going to need a lot of pushing to be able to want to vote out Joe. So I think if Kyle can present a case like that, Kyle is also wanting Joe gone, Joe or Eva, it doesn't matter to him, but I would assume he sees the threat in Joe. So I think Joe will see him probably be more defensive this upcoming episode. And as much as I would hate to see it, he's on a hot seat because of his position. He's in an interesting position too, just because Eva with him, she still has an idol, so they have some level of protection if she chooses to give it to him. But it's weird to go into a finale having an idol, having known about it from like essentially the very start, not having used it, and that's just. I mean, it just goes to show like how odd the decision making has been this season. But I digress. Can we also just appreciate the fact that Mitch is still sticking around for the fact that he's garnered enough votes over the course of the season and he's still around. He's got a pretty good story. He sees the threats that are around him. He's surprisingly good at challenges and he's in kind of a rough place himself because he's in between two different strategic partners in Kyle and Kamilla and Eva and Joe. So could we potentially be seeing an undercover winner here in Mitch? I don't know, but that would be interesting to see.
I definitely see like I'm very proud that Mitch has been able to like skirt by and be a part of it. And I think a lot of people, especially Joe, saying like they don't want to be with Mitch. They're it's over if Mitch is in the final three. I feel like I I think Mitch has a great story. You're right, he's really good at challenges, but I find the lacking of what has he done. I think there were a lot of big plays
Yes,
that could have been done, such as during the revolution with Star, but he was hesitant. He wasn't sure where to go. And in the end, no matter what Mitch said, it ended up just going with the majority vote, and they never did anything crazy. And
absolutely.
even the most recent crazy thing was done by Camilla Kyle, so not even Mitch can't even take like he can even say like, "Oh, I was part of it." Mitch had no idea. I think the thing that comes in is again with the jury. I do think the jury favors Mitch over anyone else. I think that on itself is a big thing.
I would
Um,
I would agree with that. Yeah.
so
I
I
think the opportunity is there. It's just hard to see, but there definitely is something there. And when you
yeah.
guys speak about stringing along, Mitch definitely comes to mind first.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people thought even I thought like Mitch would be like the quote unquote GOAT, but actually after this episode where like Shauhin kind of pulled in a perspective about Eva, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, Eva's the GOAT." I'm like thinking about all this the entire time where I thought for a longest time I thought Eva was the winner pick, if it was Joe wasn't there, Eva would win. But now that I think about it a little bit more, it's like, okay, actually she might not.
Yeah, well, I guess, and what we should really do is if you want to analyze Camilla and Kyle here, because again, they're the main attractions of this episode. Ultimately, they manipulate events to get out who they want to get out. So the first question is was Shauhin their optimal target out of the four other people they could have targeted? Like assuming Kyle and Camilla want to work together, which it seems like they do, so they're not going to vote for each other. So would it have been better for their primary target to have been Mitch, Eva, or Joe? And remember, it could have been Joe because they were talking about this before the immunity challenge. So they didn't know who was going to win immunity yet. What do you guys think about the Shauhin targeting?
I I I don't think I didn't think Shauhin was that much of a threat, personally.
He himself would disagree with you.
Yes, I know, that's what I'm thinking. I know he thinks that he's gonna win, and I respect it. I love the confidence, but in my mind, I didn't see a whole lot of moves being done by Shauhin. If anything, Shauhin's just been pulled along too. But I would say taking down Joe would have been the best option if I was the other guys. I think Joe would have been perfect to take out first. And then what is Eva gonna do? Like Eva's just gonna hang around with her idol, but that's really much it for her. I don't see much play either with Eva. She did get the idol. She is really good at physical stuff, and she has a great story. But I don't know if she's well liked in the jury population as well. Like throughout the entire like these several episodes, she'll like kind of gloat in terms of she having the idol, and who's the like Star's right there. She's the one that gave you the idol. Yet she's like, "Oh, I have this idol. Good thing I came to this challenge, or else you're gonna take it from me." Yada yada yada. So I don't know if she's well liked. It doesn't seem like it to my POV. So I would say Joe would be the best pick to take out. It'd be Joe, be Kyle, Mitch. If I was like them, like in the game too.
Yeah, I think Joe ends up being the high risk, high reward pick. He's a very clear threat, but I think there is enough risk there where you have to just think about it because while Joe is a threat, he's got support in Eva and he's got support in Shauhin. Shauhin would be a little bit hesitant towards getting out Joe. So if you're throwing his name out there, you're gonna be drawing some questions towards yourself. So I think honestly the approach I would take is potentially targeting I could see why they targeted Shauhin, but I would personally say if you're looking to weaken Joe without necessarily taking him out, you want to target Eva and make it so that if she's eliminated, she's a support beam for Joe. She's the one who, will unquestionably support him. She will not really vote him out unless there's an absolute need to. So you take her out, you take some of Joe's power out with her. Shauhin would be more likely to slip away from Joe than I think Eva would. So I think for me, if I'm prioritizing anyone, my first priority would probably be Eva in that sense.
Interesting. Because you got to remember, at first, when the first morning Kyle wakes up, he talks over with Kamilla. They're trying to think of a plan, but at that time, Kyle is still. This has been the same story for 5 episodes. He's indecisive and ultimately chooses to do nothing. He's like, I don't want to. He basically says, he's kind of right about this. That he thinks Shauhin is also planning something, and he wants Shauhin to be the first person that does something, and then he's gonna react to it. And I don't I don't think I agree, but Kyle's gonna be proven right here because later in the episode, Shauhin is gonna be the one who approaches Kyle in the reward when they're at the sanctuary. And Shauhin, he does not outline a specific plan. At least we don't see it, but he does. But he says to Kyle that this would be a good time to finally like make the move and target Joe and target Eva. So Shauhin brings it up first, and Kyle takes that as okay, good. Now I can do my own plan, which is gonna involve throwing Shauhin under the bus. So I bring it up because there is a timeline where Kyle decides to agree with Shauhin, and then Shauhin, Kyle, and probably Kamilla too, all together get out Joe or Eva, whomever loses, probably. Do you think in that timeline for Kyle or Kamilla, is the timeline where they work with Shauhin to get out Joe better, or is the current timeline better where they've gotten out Shauhin, they haven't betrayed anyone who's still in the game to do it, and now it's kind of a Joe and Eva, Kamilla and Kyle, and Mitch just off to the side.
Oh, that's hard. I'm like thinking about the combination. I think for them to play out, I still think taking the opportunity to take out Joe would have been a better move than taking out Shauhin.
Yes.
Because then you have a really good ally. Those three are together, and then they could take out like Eva next. Like, or I mean, Eva plays her idol, then I guess you take out Mitch. But like, I think they would still do better advantage wise if they took out Joe, over Shauhin. Yeah, that's what I would go
Yeah,
with.
I think
I
if
agree.
they took out Joe, so like they've made a permanent enemy of him on the jury. They've made a permanent enemy in Eva, who's still in the game. But like you say, they've now worked with Shauhin that time, and they have the choices. Like especially Kyle and Kamilla, who seem solid. So them to have the choice to stay strong if they want, and together they could pick who goes home. So like they could decide now Shauhin's the next biggest threat, so we're gonna pull in Mitch and we're gonna get out Shauhin next. Or they could target Eva, they could target Mitch with Shauhin. They could do whatever they want. So it does feel like that would be better. But it does involve making enemies for life, or at least for the life of this game, and Joe and Eva.
Yeah, but like Kyle being I feel like sometimes I feel like Kyle's a little scared to take out Joe. And wouldn't that just be like because you don't have like you see Joe as power? Is that why? Like I feel like that could be argument of like why are you so afraid, It's because he already knows he's not going to get all these juries, and if he takes out Joe, that's going to be another less jury that he's going to take with like get votes from. So I don't know, I feel like a lot of times Kyle is afraid of like just doing it and taking out Joe because he's afraid of being the backlash of being true, being open, being the honest crew and not being honest.
Yeah, I think in between taking out Shauhin, taking out Joe, I think you do have to prioritize Joe just because he's a cohesive unit with Eva, and Shauhin does not have that same bond with her. So I think if you're feeling good about yourself and Camilla, then you're setting yourself up better by getting rid of what could stand in your way. That's being Joe and Eva.
Agree.
And, Joe is the figurehead. If you take him out, if you take Eva out, you're weakening them regardless. But one interesting strategy you also take away is that, again, if Eva has her idol, she can use it to protect Joe, right? They can set themselves up in a situation where they set Joe up to take the fall, anticipating that others will try to vote out Joe. She uses her idol to protect him, and then they essentially get to vote out whoever they would want to vote out and counteract whatever was done. That ends up being a good survivor play that ends up advancing both of them.
Yeah, I think one thing I just don't understand why nobody's talking about the idol. I feel like I keep on talking about it, but I'm like, why have they forgotten about this? This idol has been completely forgotten about,
Yeah.
and as if like she's never got it, even though it is the most public idol, like everybody knows.
It seems like it's, and maybe Shaheen's point is accurate. It seems like nobody is worried about Eva. In fact, like you said, like she's like GOAT as not greatest of all time, as in someone who will be led to the slaughter at Final Tribal, an easy person to beat. And therefore, I have no need to force her to use her idol or blindside her because I actually want her in the game. And combined with the fact that for like the entire post merge, no one has dared go against Joe. Well, that's the only person Eva would use the idol on. So it's just never come up because of like those two things together.
Well,
I am
that's
curious if Shaheen's going to be right though, because Shaheen's claim, and remember, he thinks he's the best player in the game right now. He would beat Joe, so he knows everything right now, and maybe he's right. His read is that the jury will not respect Eva because she just followed Joe the entire time, and even her idol was just given to her, and she didn't even use it so far. And actually, if she was on the jury, all you're doing is giving Joe a guaranteed vote. So actually, you should want Eva at the final tribal with you.
yeah. Those are good points, but just to play devil's advocate here, I think the case for getting rid of her is then you at least going into the final, if it's still somewhere where you have enough time to look around for it. If you eliminate Eva and she doesn't use the idol, then everyone has the opportunity to look for an idol again before going into like the final set of votes. So you could set yourself up with better protection. Obviously, that's a longer running plan. Eliminate the person who has the idol. Try to then get the idol and use that to be able to essentially help you not only get into the final three, but make the case towards the jury that, hey, I made these moves towards the end of the game to win the game.
That would be legendary if you could pull that off.
That
By that
would be
logic, it's probably like Mitch, or I would say the people who have the least to brag about to the jury are Mitch and Eva, but Eva can't get herself out, so that just leaves Mitch to do this hypothetical play you're talking about. I love the point you made though that, and this is the biggest thing against what Kyle and Kamilla have done. They set themselves up in a situation where Joe and Eva have to both not win immunity in the first challenge of the finale, or else they're both making it to Final Four. And of those two, you care about Joe. So Joe is going to make it to the Final Four, and now you can't vote him out. You have to, at best, get him out in fire making, which the real answer is move should have been done 2 episodes ago, 3 episodes ago, 4 episodes ago. So now you've got yourself stuck in this scenario where either you do what they did, and now one of you has, either Mitch, Kyle, or Kamilla has to win immunity now to give themselves a shot at getting Joe out by voting him out. And even then, there's a chance Eva would still use her idol on him. I think she won't. I think she'll, in that scenario, she'll use it just herself to be safe. But you never know. So it's either that, or you do get out Joe, but it's like I said, you create this like chain reaction of like making permanent enemies of everybody. And now, in that scenario where Shauhin's here but Joe isn't, now someone like Mitch, you don't know where he's gonna vote, because with Joe in the game, it's very, you said it, F. It's very easy to like, hey, Mitch, who's the biggest threat? It's Joe, so vote for Joe. But when Joe's not here, he might think that Kyle's the biggest threat, or he might think that Eva's biggest. Like it's it's less predictable.
Right.
So neither of these
Yeah.
scenarios are great. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like you should have done things earlier, and now you're kind of stuck.
I think, with that train of thought, I think you're seeing why I'm thinking if they could go back the previous episode and not vote out Shauhin, they probably should be voting out Eva. It opens up the idol concern. It gives you someone who's not as closely linked with Joe. It essentially balances out the game a little bit better. Well, you still have Kyle and Kamilla in that place having the most power in that sense, but it still breaks it up in a way that it's not looking like easy pickings for Joe or Eva to be able to get into Final Four.
See, getting into the nitty gritty though, then like that might be okay for Kyle, but if you're Kamilla, now if you get out Eva, then you've left maybe 3 people who can all beat you, because you don't know. Like it's like you were kind of saying this, Ange. Like Kamilla is making her path difficult, and that's kind of no matter what she does up to this point, but she is making her the argument she will have to give at Final Tribal is getting harder and harder. Like,
Well,
even with the full edit at my disposal, I'm still like, I don't know if I would vote for Kamilla either.
Well, just like we said for Mitch, Kamilla would have access to the idol once she eliminates the person who has had the idol.
But neither of them will be able to, like ideally, it's I created a plan to blindside Eva, and then I found her idol, and then I used that idol to blindside. Like a bunch of I did this, I did that. But Camilla's not in a position to be able to convince somebody that she did something alone. It's always going to be together we did something. Or worse, the jury ends up being biased against her, and then they're like, oh, we actually think Kyle did it. Even though like it does seem like a genuine team effort here. I think. I know we see Kyle all the time, but it does seem like they talk about it together. and together decide yay or nay to do something.
Yeah.
But of course, perception's reality. So like this, the jury thinks it's Kyle, then it's gonna be Kyle. So it's a tough situation for her. I do want to talk about the two challenges here, by the way. So we had the reward challenge, which was called Invertigo. And that's when you're laying down on this slanted piece of wood and we're pointing straight into the water, and you're holding on to these like posts on the side with your hands, and you're just trying to prevent yourself from sliding down and falling in the water. This looked brutal. This painful and hard.
No, shout out to Shauhin's ganglion cyst. That looked tough. That looked really tough, but, I don't think I could do it. I think I will slide right down. Goodbye for family, goodbye friends. Cannot see my family, but I hate this type of like, if I was playing, I would lose right away, even on purpose, because I don't wanna choose who gets to, read the letters from the family. Now, the reward is to be able to read the letter from your family members. This is too much. I can't have the pressure of doing that because you're gonna either be loved or hated, and I think at this time, this is way too important. So, these type of challenges I'm always curious on who's, like, purposely gonna lose, or, like, they're just like, "I need to see these letters, I have to win," because I feel like Joe purposely lost. I think Joe was like, "You know what? I don't wanna win, goodbye," and he was like, "The top 2 people, Shauhin and Kyle's up, they're gonna pick me." He was so confident he's gonna get picked, he's like, "I'm not gonna be that person," and dropped right down. What do you guys think?
I
Yeah,
was kind
I'm
of
thinking the same way.
had the impression. I mean, by coincidence, uh, Eva had happened to fall out right before that, and then Camilla makes a comment that it's like just as cold out there. So, like edit wise, it looked like I need to go make sure Eva's okay, and it just dropped. Which
No,
No,
but like,
to me,
I
it
don't
was like,
know.
"I'm dropping, whatever. I'm
yeah,
not gonna risk winning this game."
I think strategically it makes sense. He feels like he's in a good spot, so it's a test in that trust for him. So yeah.
He just doesn't come across as the person who doesn't give 110% every challenge. Like I
Yes.
like the actual
That's true.
the strategy definitely is not to win this. Although asterisk, it's not just the letters from home. It's spending a night at the sanctuary where good
Oh,
things
right,
happen
right, right.
and burgers. So food. So you do food is good. And you don't know for sure you're gonna be picked. Although he has built a like loyalty environment where maybe you're pressured to picking him. So maybe you did think, but I wouldn't like it would not be my first guess that Joe would throw a challenge. That seems like
Right, right.
something that's goes against his code.
I think, he's adapting over the course of the game. Joe, like when we first see him, without a doubt, it would feel like he wouldn't do that. But this Joe, as he's nearing the victory line, he wants to make sure that he's setting himself up in a good position. He just I feel like he would just put a bigger target on himself if he just ended up winning this, because people might already be concerned about how he's doing. Shauhin, as we know, feels like he can stand on his own. So him winning the challenge is just kind of giving himself that own thought. And I think for Joe, he doesn't really want to change. Like if he knows that Shauhin's thinking that way, he would want him to keep thinking that way.
I don't think anyone is thinking he thinks that way except Shaheen himself.
That's true. What's unfortunate is Shauhin ends up winning it and picking Kyle and Joe, uh, to be a part of it, which is great, but it made everyone else very unhappy. Like, Camilla went off, was like, "Okay, you might as well just give the winner to Joe. He's gonna be able to eat, and he's gonna get strong, and he's gonna win." And I'm like, go it's just a clear example how, like, everyone's mad, you know? they're mad because they don't get the food, they don't get the letter, and in this case, it's feeding Joe means winning. And I truly don't think if we fed Camilla, she's gonna win. Like I don't think that was I
Oh,
maybe I don't know. Respectfully, I don't think so. Hot take, maybe.
so yeah, so all the people who are upset, Mitch is upset too. You're like, nah, like even with food, you would lose.
Mitch is really good at challenges. However, I feel like I'm so stuck on episode 1 to 3 Mitch that recent Mitch hasn't been like as close together. I don't know. But I just don't think one meal is gonna do it. I know food is energy, energy is energy to win the immunity challenges, but I feel like in Joe's case, he's gonna win either or, you know? It's different if he was slugging and it's been weeks since his food, but I think he had food not too long ago too. I don't know, but it was just funny how that's what Camilla was attacking Joe for, you know? Well, attacking Shauhin really. It wasn't Joe, it was Shauhin. Um, like, you know, it's just she made it seem like, you know, clearly you don't play well because this is what's going on and you're trying to help him, so I can't work with you. So this is gone. And because Camilla and Shauhin had a bond, they had a relationship, you know? Like that's the whole reason why David wanted to take out Shauhin. But what happened to
But
that relationship? It's gone.
but that relationship, I mean, that was like in the aftermath of the crazy tribal council, and they were on the swap tribe together. They then won a challenge, and then I mean, we haven't seen much of it at all. The only thing that happened is there's a one challenge where you pick a partner, and Shauhin does pick Camilla, but I believe in confessional he's just saying like I don't want to pick my actual alliance member, so I'm just gonna pick someone else. And then David takes that to mean like, oh, there must be a secret alliance. Meanwhile, the secret alliance actually is Camilla and Kyle, and eventually that whole episode spirals out of control for David.
You know, a plot
Shauhin,
twist would be everybody knew this alliance. Like, it's not that secretive, but they all kept it down low.
maybe I think I think what they could probably say is like, oh yeah, we knew you guys like were tight, but what they didn't know is that they were actually like making strategy together.
Mm,
Like it
okay.
was more
Yeah.
than just like we enjoy each other's company. It was like we are scheming against you. Even though most of the time their scheming just aligned with what the main alliance wants to do anyway. Until this episode when they finally
Yeah.
went on offense. Speaking of offense, so I know we all of us are criticizing Shauhin for winning. Actually, I putting words in your mouth. F, do you also agree like winning a challenge like this where you're gonna have to exclude people in the reward? Like is you would you throw this type of challenge?
Yeah, no, it goes back to the point I was just making about Joe. I think strategically, this is not one you need to win. It's just going to put a bigger target on your back. And if you feel like you're strong enough to be able to persevere in the game with or without the food, it's a nice enough risk to reward ratio for you where you don't need to be fed. You're going up against others that might be fed, but you still are pretty strong enough to be able to compete with them. But hey, at least you don't have that target on your back that you might have had if you had won the challenge or people as upset with you because you're not involved in that winner's circle. And then on the other side, you also, like I said, it's a test of the trust. If Joe feels that if he doesn't win, if one of his boys wins, if I didn't watch the full episode, I watched the recaps. I don't know if this was mentioned. If he already has an inkling of they have the person can also select people to come with him, then he's probably feeling pretty good of if I don't win, one of my boys is
Oh,
gonna bring me with them anyway.
by this point, they're all super fans to some extent. They know you're gonna be able to pick people.
Yeah, so exactly.
It's
So like
it's expected.
so he already understands that, like, if he understands this and he takes a second to think about it, he could probably figure out that winning this is not good for him. It could actually hurt him more than help him.
Yeah. No, okay. So we're in agreement with like we're criticizing Shauhin here for actually winning. However, I think I've cracked his intentions though. I don't think this was him not being aware of what we're talking about. He brings Kyle and Joe, and then when Joe is off somewhere else, he talks to Kyle directly. This is when he pitches, essentially targeting either Joe or Eva, whoever's available, after the immunity challenge. And what he's doing is he has the person he wants to work with, which is Kyle. He brought him. And he brought the person he wants to keep comfortable, which is Joe. He does not want Joe to be questioning why he wasn't chosen. He wants Joe to be as comfortable as possible. And so I guess that so I think that makes total sense. That is if Kyle actually was his number one, this probably would have worked great for Shauhin. This would have been a perfect execution. So my question now is, and Shauhin himself, he says, like, he's been patient for so long, but at some point, like it's time to do something. Was this the time to do something? Should Shauhin have been even more patient and not brought this up? Because I'm not. Maybe Kyle would have got impatient himself, but the way it was presented to us, Kyle only begins his plan once he hears that Shauhin is ready to do his own plan. So if Shauhin had not done that, then maybe Kyle also wouldn't have done that, and nobody would have done anything, which would have meant Mitch getting voted out in the end.
Yeah,
If
it's.
you, yeah, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's just it's an odd position to be in. I feel like, yeah, he did this way too early. It's just fitting with the episode title Icarus. He flew too close to the sun, so it's just tough. I feel like you're in a weird position where I think you should be taking Eva out this episode, but Joe's not going to be receptive towards that. But he's the one of the people that you brought with you, so you got to be thinking about who you're talking to about what. And you have Joe and Kyle in close proximity to you, so he did what he felt was best. But I think he did it too early. I don't know if he should have thrown Joe's name out there.
I mean, I do
I
want
think
to
in
push
the
back a
first.
little bit.
Mhm.
Sorry, Ange. I'll let you go in a
No, you
second.
go ahead. No, yeah.
Because there's only two more. There's only one more tribal
Yeah.
council after
Yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah.
So it's
Mhm.
hard to be too early. You've got one more tribal council, and then you got a final four fire making.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, you could still be right if you're saying the right time is either never or at final five. Then yes, then your early
Well,
statement
the
stands.
mis- the mistake for him was that he brought Joe. I think that would have been a more comfortable conversation with him, Kyle, whoever the third person is outside. Like, it doesn't matter if
Well,
it's Camilla or Mitch.
I think in your scenario, if he wants to get out Eva, he would bring Eva. It would be the inverse. Like, he wants her to be comfortable, and then if Joe's ever mad about it, he'd be like, "Oh, Joe would be, but you brought Eva. That's fine." So keeps Eva happy, and then does the same thing. Talks to Kyle and says like, "Hey, like, I got her comfortable. This is the time to strike."
I,
At
I
least
think I think at like this point, like with how few survivors are left, I think you shouldn't care about that. I think you just need to talk to whoever you need to talk to without worrying about reassuring whoever is left, because you just really need the numbers. You need to be able to have a dialogue with people that you get the sense are going to be able to vote the same way as you. So rather than risk bringing someone who I'm intending to vote out, I would rather bring someone who I can convince to vote that person out.
That's different. Okay. Well, for me, I feel like Shauhin, like in a way of building his resume, if he were to build it, this is the time. Time is money. It is now because, as Will said, there's only so much time now. There's only like what one more episode left. There's only one more vote left, and it's over. It's fire making. So, but as we said, Shauhin is very confident. He's confident that he would win. So why make a move now? Like, I think he shouldn't have made any
ooh, okay,
moves. Like,
okay,
if you
that's
felt confident enough that you would win versus Eva and Joe, then what it looks like is gonna be Eva and Joe and you. So if you think that you're gonna be top 3 and you're gonna win, then why are we making any moves right now? What are we trying to prove, you know?
that's interesting. I didn't consider that. That's right. If if instead of me in my own shoes, I put myself in Shauhin's shoes, who believes he would win against anybody who's left, then you kind of don't want the only thing you want to probably avoid is, like, it'd be nice to not have to be in fire making. And the one way to guarantee that is you winning that last challenge. And it's harder to do that with Joe here. So I guess that would be the only thought process that could lead him to target Joe.
Yeah, that's true. But
But
still, I rather guarantee top 4 than doing all these moves and not knowing what the next day is gonna be like. Which, in the end backfired. He's not top 4 contender. He's gone. So I rather have a chance of fire making than nothing at all.
that's a great point. That's a great point. I mean, I kind of wish we got to see. I would want to see if he was right, because our edit would tell us that he's wrong, but this is an edit that knew he was going to get voted out to me. So I wonder.
I
So
wonder when people get out, like they go to Ponderosa, they like talk and it's like, so would you have voted for me if I was like top 3? And everyone's just like, yeah, of course, of course. And they all think like, oh yeah, of course. Like you wouldn't be like, no, I wouldn't vote for you. You're so bad. I feel like maybe they'll be like, yeah, of course we'll vote for you. And then he'll be like, yeah, I would have won. If it would have been me if I was top 3.
yeah, so let me pose a question to you both. Actually, just going back on the island. If hypothetically, if instead of Joe, he decided to bring Mitch, if Shauhin decided to bring Mitch instead of Joe, and felt like making the case about Joe to both Kyle and Mitch, do you think Joe would have been eliminated?
Well,
Uh,
Shauhin would have raised some eyebrows by bringing Mitch, who's would not in the alliance. So he'd have to explain himself. And it leaves Joe, Eva, and Kamilla back. I feel like Kyle does the same thing though. I think he has no intention of this is how Kyle phrases it. He doesn't want to follow. He doesn't want to help Shauhin execute Shauhin's plan. He wants to do his own plan. So I think the only difference is like now Mitch probably says yes. So Mitch thinks it's going to be a vote against, well, at the time it would have been Joe, but then it probably would have been Eva then, because Joe wins immunity. So then I actually do. I think things would play out the same way. I think it would still
Okay.
be. I think Joe would still get spooked, basically. And look, there's been a lot of criticism tonight, so let's give the praise. Even if you don't agree with like their end result, like what they're trying to do, Kyle and Kamilla do a beautiful job in executing their plan. Their intention is to it would have been Joe, but now it has to be someone else because Joe wins immunity. So they want to target Shauhin, but they do not want it to come across as Kyle specifically, because Kyle's supposed to be in the alliance. Kyle proposing, let's vote Shauhin. Instead, he's going to Joe and saying, hey, I heard that Shauhin is targeting Eva. And he's going to Joe about this. And Kyle has the advantage that is true. That is what Shauhin wants to do. But he lies and says, like, how do I, Kyle, know this? Because Kamilla came to me and said that Shauhin showed her his idol and intends to blindside Eva. And they practiced like not the script, but just they got their story straight together before it. Kyle talks to Joe first. Kyle lets Joe like absorb it, take it in. Joe goes to Kamilla and basically cross-examines her, and they have her story straight. So he is buying it, it seems. And then Joe goes to Shauhin, and I don't think this is anything wrong with Shauhin, but like Shauhin does not know he's being interrogated, nor has he done anything yet. So Shauhin just annoys Joe apparently because Joe wants Shauhin to admit to something that he isn't actually doing anymore. And yeah, ultimately Joe decides that Shauhin's being untrustworthy, and he will vote with Kyle and Kamilla and Eva. The actual breakdown ends up being Kamilla voting for Who did she vote for? Mitch, but
I
I think that
believe.
was just there were some protections against secret idols and then stuff, shot in the darks, etc.
Do you think she did that on purpose to seal her alliance with Kyle? Or did she do that more so protection of the shot in the dark and just in case?
What I think everyone did what was according to the plan.
Okay.
The only person who was I think 5 people were on the same page, and the only person who was not on the same page was Shauhin.
Sad. I love Shauhin when he exited too. He was like, "You better all give me a hug." And then he sang the song before he left. Like, he was so fun.
Yeah, him and Star have to rap together where Shauhin doing like the beatboxing and then
Oh my
Star doing
gosh,
the rapping.
yes. I would like to say tonight, nobody stood up for him. Like, come on. Nobody? David didn't get up at all. No respect.
David must have gotten an earful from the last time.
Maybe from productions like, sit down.
I mean, that technically is possible. Even though, like, I don't know, it seems like that was a Mary specific thing for him to do, but he probably did like, hey, that was a cool moment, but never again. Do not do that.
Wait, did I just hear that right? Did you say very specific or Mary specific?
Oh my God, that would be so funny if you did.
Whatever you heard, whatever you want us.
I
Just
say it's
throw that
Mary.
pun in there, just subtle pun.
I like it.
All
And I
right,
keep
so
milking that.
the last thing for us to do is our finale winner picks. But before we get into that, is there anything else anyone wants to bring up about the episode?
Just looking forward to the finale. No comment.
Yeah, it came up to me it really snuck up really quick to us.
Yeah, well, and it all comes down to this, really. This episode is definitely it was a big step up from a lot of the episodes we've had lately, but it does feel like we're like no matter like this finale is not going to be so good as to lift this whole season is what I think, but we got to wait and see. And we will go into it with our final 5. So let's talk through the case for all of them. We've talked about a bunch already, so let's just get some out of the way quick. So we've talked about Eva a lot. It would seem like she has the worst chance out of everyone right now.
Yeah,
You guys
it's kind of
disagree?
disappointing because I thought she would do really well, but I do think that as the time went on, I saw less of what she was playing, and she just became kind of like she had a great relationship with Joe, but I don't feel them playing rather than they just sticking with an alliance. You know, their alliance is very classic of how I felt with Pearl Island if they had, like, no blind sides, nothing like that. It's just, "All right, here's the number. We got 4 people. Easy to go. Pick, pick, pick. Those are people." Like, there's a lineup on who they're taking out, you know? But there was nothing else beyond that. So it kinda takes away from the plan, the fun. There's no outwitting from her. Maybe she's getting outwit, and, I don't know. It's just not giving winner right now.
I mean, keeping the alliance together, like it is impressive for an alliance to go far.
But is it
Which
impressive
is
if the entire time several people have their own thing going on within the alliance when you don't have anything secretive, at least? You have a very open alliance.
I mean, I don't know, but I don't think anybody else has anything. I mean, it's only Kyle.
That's true.
Like Shauhin doesn't have anything, and Joe doesn't have
David and
anything.
Mary had something.
They had said something. They sure had
They
something.
yeah, they had something. Which actually off
Sure.
a side note, Mary did confirm they're not dating is what she claims in the most recent TikTok.
Good Lord, what did I miss?
I know they were there were rumors saying that they were dating, but no, it was not confirmed. They're not dating.
Mary, who's essentially had, at least from what I watched, pretty much no screen time to like, yeah.
Except
Yeah.
the episode that debuted. And then like her own exit episode.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it doesn't seem possible, like because remember when you think about each of these people, you're thinking, okay, are there two people they can sit next to where they would beat them? And it doesn't seem like you would think if she's sitting with Joe, she definitely loses. If she's sitting with, so then you're like, okay, sit with Mitch. It is plausible. Perhaps people would prefer Eva to Mitch, but then you need another person. That's either Kamilla or Kyle, and clearly her best shot is if she's sitting with Kamilla and Mitch. And I don't know that she wins even in that scenario. So she is my bottom ranked potential winner right
Yes, I would agree with that.
now. I think
I,
the other four, there's enough time left in the finale, in the last episode, for them to move their rankings around. But for now, Mitch is my next lowest.
yeah, I was
Potential.
about to say, I think Mitch also has a lot of hurdles to overcome. He would also be number 4 for me.
I see a
Yeah, I would say
scenario
the
where
same.
Mitch with Eva and Kamilla, there could be, depending on how things play out, like Kamilla may have failed to gain enough respect to get enough votes, which would leave Mitch. So I think that's essentially his path right now. Like it has to. If anything else happens, Mitch will
I think
know. Which leaves Joe. Oh, sorry, you got something.
I was just gonna say, I think depending on how Kyle leaves the game, I think can really bump up Kamilla. So I think, yeah, like you said, like, you know, the other 4 outside of Eva, like they can switch up and down. I think Joe firmly is in the lead there, but I think between Kamilla and Mitch, while there is a gap, I would put Kamilla ahead of her. I do see, yeah, I mean, Mitch has a very difficult situation that he's in, but he does have an opportunity if there's a perfect set of circumstances for him to be able to move ahead, assuming, yeah, Camilla's not able to separate herself from Kyle, and Mitch is, while he is stringing along, he's at least making moves in comparison. So I think if, like, with things as they stand right now, yeah, Camilla's up ahead.
I think so. And I think if she was able to take down Kyle, like blindside Kyle, I think that would be crazy moves. And that would
Exactly.
pull her up like so high.
Yeah.
Like if she could blindside Kyle and take him down, that would be crazy stuff for her. I don't know if she would do it, but if she did, it would be good for her.
But I wonder if it'll be. I mean, this is a positive for Kyle and Kamilla. The way they've executed this move does not make it obvious to target them next. Like hypothetically, Joe thinks that their alliance of 4 got betrayed by Shauhin, which leaves them with an alliance of 3, him, Eva, and Kyle. And so he would think the 3 of them will vote for either Mitch or Kamilla. And seeing as they were going to vote for Mitch originally last episode, I assume it's going to be Mitch again. It's who they want to get out. So that gives Kamilla and Kyle a lot of freedom here to do what they want, basically with Mitch. But it also means it's hard to betray each other. Like, think about it. If Joe and Eva are going to vote for Mitch, then there are not 3 votes available to vote for Kamilla or Kyle. So something else would have to happen, like a 2-2-1 tie, or some strangeness, or like it just logistically, it might be difficult for them to betray each other next episode. But you're right. If, like, that would obviously look great for Kamilla. But if she does that, then she still has Joe. I mean, again, this is why moves had to be done earlier for most of the people. For Kyle, not as big a deal. Like, Kyle might think the only threat is Joe. So he actually could focus on trying to get Joe out in one of the next 2, ideally next vote. But yeah, time to put your money where your mouth is here. So both of your winner picks currently are Kamilla. Are you prepared to back that pick and declare Kamilla as your winner picks?
I am, yeah. Stick by my decisions. Stick by
every
David,
week.
but if I'm forced to choose a separate one, then Camilla.
And you are.
Yeah, I love that. Every week I've been stuck by Camilla. I feel bad to just drop her last minute, so I'm gonna keep her too. I think I had her from the beginning, so I'm gonna stick by Camilla. Let's go. Take down Kyle. I think if she took down Kyle and is revealed that she had a secret alliance with Kyle this entire time, the jury would be all over it if it's truly a secret alliance. And I think they would want her to win because she's been kind of like the little underdog, the little gal that's got nobody wants to be with her, last pick. And it's been talked about a lot about that. I feel like Jeff always like brings that up. It's like, so here you are again, Camilla. Like, well, what's going on?
But
And
but you
Camilla's
know
just like,
what's
I'm just
hurting this
fucking
though?
dragging by.
It's that the people who are outside the alliance have never been aligned themselves. Like this isn't like the minority
Mhm.
alliance. This is like Camilla's the last person standing. It's like yes, like she's winning it for us. Like she's just another person that didn't try to dethrone the majority here. So
Mm.
I've and because because it seems her strategic alliance with Kyle has been a secret, it means like Kyle's not gonna feel like a blindside at first. She's gonna have to explain it. And I mean you can do that. It's just another thing to make it more difficult for her. She's gonna have to explain why voting out, let's say it happens next vote, why getting Kyle out at 5 was important, and this is why it led me to this point. Especially if she's sitting with Joe, she'll have to probably explain why didn't you target Joe or something. Uh, but she does have. I think she has a story she can tell, but this is gonna be one of those like you need to sell it at final tribal, and if you are not good in that public speaking environment, then it's gonna be hard.
You're pulling me through, but I'm sticking with my guns. I will not change. I will keep with Camilla.
My
Camilla.
vote is going to be either Kyle or Joe, and the question is, like the first step is who's actually gonna make it to the end, and by that logic, it's who's gonna be the top target. You would think if nothing if nothing fancy happens, it all comes down to will Joe or Eva win immunity at 5? Because if they do, then they're both going to be safe since Eva has her idol. And then it's really who does like Joe and Eva are going to be aligned picking somebody. It might be Mitch. It could be one of Camilla or Kyle potentially. I suspect in that scenario they would not target Kyle. Like I think Joe is trying. He was trying to get Kyle and Shauhin and Eva, all of them, to Final Four. So I think he will continue doing that. So he and Eva will not try to get out Kyle. Whereas if neither of them win immunity, Eva will protect herself, and I think Kyle would try to get rid of Joe. So I don't think Joe's gonna make it past 5, and so I think your winner of Survivor 48 will be Kyle. That is my new and last winner pick.
I like it. I can't wait to see what's gonna happen on the next episode. Lots of things. So is the next episode a couple hours, right? It's gonna be 2 hours or 3? 2.5?
It's probably like if you include the after show, it was probably 3 hours.
Oh, right. The after show.
Yeah, looking
'Cause
forward to it.
it's a it's a little hard now because before it was like there's like normal episodes are 1 hour, so the finale is 2 hours, and then the reunion show is a third hour, so it's 3 hours. Nowadays, the normal episode's 90 minutes, so but I think it'll still, when you add everything up, be 3 hours.
Yeah, can't wait to see who's gonna win or no.
Just looking for closure for this season. It's too early to say because it hasn't ended, but the way it's been going, season 47 set a high bar, and unfortunately, this has not met expectations as of right now for me. But it it does feel like it's heading towards a more predictable finish, which I hope's not the case, but it's it's getting to a point where, yeah, this is, in comparison to just what I've watched, this one does not meet that bar.
I agree, and I feel like sometimes if I think, "Oh, an unpredictable season, exciting last episode," that that doesn't make a good season, though. It's like reading a
Yeah.
full book and then the last, like, 20 pages, it gets you really excited. That doesn't make it a five-star book. It is
Yeah, there's supposed to
still,
be a
for
hook.
me, a 3.5-star book kinda thing. So, I
Right.
think I do agree that 47 was very exciting, lots of, like, characters. I think in this season, there are a lot of good play people. They're interesting, good background. You like everybody. I do. I like everybody. They're good individuals that I think, hey, deserve to win $1 million. But at the same time, good people, but not good plays are being done. So I feel like
Yep.
there's a big significance of that.
Agreed.
And 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 just to clarify, I I don't think this finale will be predictable. It's the nuance is I think I know the like all the three like main ways it could play out, but I don't know which one it's gonna be. So like I know I have my winner pick, but I don't think it's so obvious, Kyle, that like I don't even need to watch. Like it's still for example, like it's last season, going into the finale, Rachel was an overwhelming favorite. If she makes the end, she will win. That's how we felt. For my winner pick, Kyle making the end does not guarantee he's going to win because he could be going up against Joe. Or he could even be going against Camilla and Kyle just does an awful job at Tribal and just stabs himself in the foot or something.
Mhm.
Uh, but there's like you said, there hasn't been like a build up to this though. It's even if this is an awesome finale, we've kind of like slowly meandered our way here. So we'll see.
It's to me, it's predictable in the sense that you have people in positions of power who are still in positions of power, and that power has not really been checked. And the people who were part of those groups who essentially got eliminated because they self-destructed rather than there was a strategic move to just get them out. So I think in that sense, the pace the game's been going, assuming there's no major shifts, it does look like this is Joe's game to lose. The only other person who's able to challenge him being Kyle. If he wins immunity, even if he doesn't win immunity, I see a case for him to be able to convince Eva maybe to use her idol on him to protect him if he feels like he's going to get voted out. So it just feels like there hasn't been like after a certain point, it feels like there's the buildup that the other episodes had, the kind of surprise eliminations, which this season has had too. I'm not saying it hasn't. It hasn't had as many twists and turns in that sense. So in terms of excitement, you don't get the same level when you compare it to season 47. Like I said, season 47 set a high bar, had a great, memorable cast of characters. This season, at least from if it ended today, would be a season where I think, it had potential, but it just did not reach that potential.
Hmm. My question, like, we always ask Will about, like, if we want them to be back to come back. Do you guys want Shauhin to come back for 50 or for any future seasons?
I'm on the fence with this one. I think he is an interesting player. So I I feel like I'd be okay with him coming back. Yeah, I feel like I've been saying no too much to these, but I think he's a player. Yeah, I would like to see more of him.
Hmm. How about you, Will?
Nar.
Nar!
Mm,
What?
nah,
What?
nah.
He could do the
I've seen
thing
it.
again.
I've seen
Oh
enough.
my god.
I like I appreciate him singing the theme song. That was great. But nothing he did was like grab my attention. I guess he was too patient for me. Didn't
I think I would love to see him again. I think he is just the chaos I need, and, he was a better version of what Thomas was, and I really wish Thomas moved forward further. Like it's funny because I don't remember the other people as much, like Charity or forgot the other girl's name, but Thomas I remember really well. Where I'm like, he would have been a crazy player. Like I
California
think he
girls.
California Girls. Yes. Wow, it went down faster than I remember that. I was like, wow, that just it feels like forever ago.
Just remember the curse. If you name your alliance, then
It's
it's
over.
not soon for this world.
That's true. Do not do it. Don't name your crew. But I don't know. Shauhin had that in him, and I really liked it. I really like it.
Maybe Jeff will maybe he'll bring him back. We shall see.
Yes, for the music at
Uh,
least. Come on.
Yeah, she never specified that he has to be a participant. So who knows? What if he's just doing like
The
vocals or
singer, he's just the
he's just there to
best.
sing?
yeah, not even
With
sing,
Star.
just the background music.
Just that would be incredible. I'll take it.
He'll definitely be singing at the after show though, guaranteed. That's
I
in
would
fact
love
that's
that.
probably how the season's gonna end, with like him doing the theme song. See you next season. Fade to black. And speaking of Fade into Black, that's all the time we got this week. One more episode to go for the finale. Will F be right? Will it be predictable? Or will we see some surprises? Last second Eva betraying Joe? Who knows?
Ooh.
But until we speak again, ciao.